Hello there once again, Talkin' Fight fans. Welcome to another exciting edition of The Scoop featuring the champ, Bola Ray. He's doing a four-part series on the Fab Four, if I'm not mistaken, and tonight would be number 2.
Yeah.
Who would that be, champ?
Well, today we're talking about, well, actually all four of them are arguably some of my favorites of all time, like individually for their own reasons. But this guy he is arguably one of the most menacing, most accomplished middleweights of all time. For the longest time, Roy Jones Jr. was my end-all be-all, the GOAT. He is in the top 3 middleweights of all time. This guy didn't get a title shot, didn't get a decent payday until after his 50th fight. He was still working a part-time job or a full-time job until his 50th fight. Yeah. My name is Bola Ray, and this is The Scoop. Born May 23rd, 1954 in Newark, New Jersey. The oldest of 6 kids was one Marvin Nathaniel Hagler. And during that time, they moved to Brockton, Massachusetts, after the Newark riots between July 12th and 17th of 1967. 26 people were killed, and over $11 million in property damage was done. Now, growing up in Brockton, Massachusetts, he got into a fight with another youth who just so happened to be a boxer, and he lost. So the very next day, he walked into a boxing gym and started learning his craft. History would have it that Marvin ends up fighting this boy that urged him into the gym and gave him a payback by beating him in an amateur fight. His amateur career was one for the history books. It came out in 1983 that he had lied about his age as an amateur, making him 2 years older. Actually, he's 2 years younger than what he had said, because there was some age restriction where athletes must be 16 years of age to compete. And I think this was the reality for national or maybe even international competitions, but I'm not completely sure. The only record I could find had Marvin advancing his boxing resume by turning pro with an amateur record of 55 wins and 1 loss. And that's in 1973. Now, I struggle to believe this to be the case, seeing how he didn't want to wait to go to the 76 Montreal Summer Olympic Games before turning pro, yet he would have been 18 years old at the 72 Munich Games, perfectly old enough to make the Olympic squad. And yet the record has him with only 1 loss, which I don't understand how he didn't make the team then. But his professional career started out incredibly. From the standpoint that he won 46 of his 50th 50 first fights. And he didn't get a title shot in those 50 fights. Not one title shot. On that road, he made some notable fights, such as a loss, which came on his 27th fight, to one Bobby Boogaloo Watts. A more controversial decision was virtually inconceivable. It's that bad. It wasn't the worst of all times, but it was pretty bad, said one J. Russell Pletz, the promoter of the fight. The headline in the following morning Philadelphia Inquirer read, "Welcome to Philadelphia." Marvin said in a post-fight interview, "That's why boxing has a bad name. I never saw anything like it. He didn't take a round off me. All he did was hold, like a girl." This loss was avenged in Marvin's 52nd fight and his second world title defense, where he took the decision out of the hands of the three blind mice and stopped him in the second round. Good on you, genuinely. Another notable fight series was one with none other than Sugar Ray Seales. Meeting him for the first time August 30th, 1974, this was a highly anticipated contest between two undefeated middleweights. There weren't just middleweight, there were two undefeated prospects, juggernauts, bottom line. Seales was an American sweetheart. Sugar Ray, sweetheart. Repeats itself. Sugar Ray, sweetheart. Remember that. I don't know. I can't explain myself. He was a sweetheart of America for the reason that he had taken the gold medal in the 1972 Munich Games at 139 pounds. Now, walking into this contest, Seales was actually a little more advanced and was the favorite to win with a record of 21-0 compared to Marvin's 15-0 at the time. It was a back and forth dance where Marvin walked away with a unanimous decision. Okay. They had a second dance. And it was just 3 months later. And this was the mentality. This was Marvin. In those 3 months, he had already had 3 fights. He's a busy guy. This one was for the ages. It was deemed a majority draw, with 2 of the judges scoring in a 10-round bout. The record 99-99. Now, understand what that means in a 10-round fight. That means 2 of those judges gave each one of those competitors 1 round each. Then the remaining 8 rounds were too close to call a winner. Therefore, he gave them both 10-10 rounds all the way. Wow. There was a third fight, which made this a trilogy, where they fought February 3rd, 1979. Now, in true Hagler form, he took the decision out of the judge's hand and delivered an impressive first-round knockout. This was his 46th fight, and yet, no title defense. 8 long years as a pro. where Marvin would work construction full-time by day, box by night. 46 fights, people. 46 fights. And the purses he was making started off at $50 to a couple $100. And we're talking 46 fights. There's professionals. Lennox Lewis finished his career with 43 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Finished his career with 46 fights. He hasn't gotten a title defense yet. Senator Kennedy took this to the American Senate and filed a formal inquiry to order to get the Boxing Commission to force a world title shot. Never has this been done before. Never has it been done since in history. Marvin spoke to Joe Frazier, who told him that he has 3 strikes against him, hence why he doesn't have a title shot. 1, he's black. 2, he's southpaw. And 3, he's good. There's nothing he could have said, could have argued about that. Now, November 30th, 1979, Hagler got his first title shot against Vito Altafermo. The unofficial scorecard had Hagler winning this fight. But you can't, the 3 blind mice at ringside saw it as a draw. In a post-fight interview, Hagler said, "You can't leave it to the judges. You can't leave it to the ref. You have to do it my way." And he held up his fists. 4 fights later, Hagler got his second title shot against one Alan Minster of the UK. Now, Minster had just dethroned Vito Altafermo. Minster was a heavy favorite, but somebody needed to tell Marvin this. In a pre-fight interview, Minster said, "No black man's going to take my title." Later, he insisted that he said, "That black man." Yeah. Okay. Marvin completely destroyed the man in 3 rounds. He was so badly beaten, cut over both eyes swollen shut when the fight got called off. And then chaos ensued. The crowd started throwing beer cans and cups and whatnot into the ring at the new world champion. Marvin had to be escorted out by the police. Marvin said in an interview later how every time he runs into someone from the UK, they are ever so apologetic for this display of nothing but bigotry, of which Marvin didn't take any hatred towards the people. He says he holds no vengeance against them. He holds vengeance for only competitors. Yeah, better man than me. I'll give you that. Marvin went on to defend his world title 12 times with 11 knockouts. His career, if his career wasn't legendary enough, here are some more fuel to pad that argument. Now, he called himself Marvelous Marvin Hagler, but ABC Sports refused to call him Marvelous. So Marvin went to court and had his name legally changed from Marvin Nathaniel Hagler to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Not bad. It was during these proceedings that it was denounced that he had actually been 2 years younger because he had to cough up his birth certificate and whatnot. So, November 10th, 1983. For boxing enthusiasts, this was an epic fight in history. He stepped in the ring with the legend himself, Roberto Duran. Now, I will discuss this fight in great detail actually next week. But for the record, Marvin walked away with a 15-round decision, the only decision win he got in his world title defenses. This was arguably the greatest war between two inside fighting juggernauts of all time. April 15th, 1985, Marvin steps into the squared circle against none other than Tommy Hearns. There was a bitter hatred between these two. And this fight was deemed the war. It's also touted as the greatest 3 rounds of boxing in boxing history. Now, again, much like the Duran fight, this fight I'll be discussing next week. Stay tuned. It's amazing. There was a chap by the name of John Mugabe from Kenya, Ugandan fighter. Nothing shy of a specimen. He had freakish dimensions just like Marvin. Actually, both were middleweights. Marvin is an inch taller at 5'9.5". Marvin's reach is an inch longer at 6'3". For the record, the average person's reach from fingertip to fingertip is supposed to be their height. You have these freaks like, well, I shouldn't say that because I'm actually have the same dimensions. But when your reach surpasses your height, especially by that much, yeah, you better be an athlete. Mugabe was an undefeated juggernaut as a pro. He had taken the gold medal in the 1980 Olympics in Moscow. And as a pro, had amassed a record of 25 fights, 25 wins, 25 knockouts.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. What an incredibly anticipated contest. They were like twins in physique, in punching power. This was an iconic fight for me because it was one of the first fights that I saw that against an absolute king. I shouldn't say that because it was the exact same scenario with the Sugar Ray Seeley fights. But let's call it another example of where Hagler's boxing IQ shone. Hagler came out in the first round completely uncharacteristically in an orthodox stance. He then, by the end of the first round, he had reverted back to southpaw and pretty much stayed there. Orthodox just wasn't favorable. Now, Mugabe's strategy was simply to counterpunch. He was just standing there winging bombs. But to counterpunch, he had to wait for that first punch and then come back. And he found some success. He found a great deal of success. But he didn't win rounds with this. Actually, after the first round, I only gave Mugabe the 9th round, and that was due to Mills Lane taking a point off of Marvin for low blows. 6th round began typically, and at the 2-minute mark, a war began. And they're exchanging. Mugabe ended up taking a step backwards and then actually started trying to grab him and reach and hold him. And it looked at one point like he was on his way out. Hagler gave it to him. And I didn't think where up to that point, Mugabe was a solid counterpuncher, waiting for the shot to come, giving his counterpunch, swing, missing mostly, catching him occasionally. Hagler using his jab, outboxing him like crazy. Now, after this exchange, for the rest of the fight, Mugabe was actually backing up. He was a defeated man. It was just a matter of time. And come the 11th round, Mugabe touched canvas for the very first time in his career, his professional career, and was knocked out. Now, in attendance for this fight was none other than Sugar Ray Leonard. And he's sitting beside Michael J. Fox, and he says, "I think I can beat him." For the life of me, in watching this fight, I have absolutely no idea what he saw. But not just Ray, but others said that they thought that Hagler had slowed down. His footwork wasn't there. I did not witness this. I've looked at this fight. I've studied this fight several. I did not see this. He fought an incredible fight. He beat an incredible talent. Maybe it was just that Mugabe was that good that it made him look that ordinary. I don't know. But after 3 years retirement from the ring, Ray Leonard actually gave boxing history the fight that they've been looking for throughout the 80s and decided to step in the ring against Hagler. Now, April 6, 1987, that match the boxing fans have been waiting for finally started. Ray versus Marvin. Arguably the most controversial fight in history, with Leonard winning a decision. This is more than worthy of its own episode, and like the others, will be discussed next week. But what Marvin attempted to get a rematch after this, and for 1 year, and Ray wanted nothing to do with it. He was convinced he won that fight. That was disgusting. So, with a record of 62 wins, 3 losses, and 2 draws, with 52 knockouts over 14 years, Marvelous Marvin Hagler retired, never to box again. Marvin is enjoying life away from boxing, like literally away from boxing, virtually never seen. He moved to Italy. He's enjoying life being an Italian action movie star. Who knew? But I wish you the very best, sir. Thank you for your contribution to boxing history. If you like this episode, please hit the like button, smash the subscribe, and tickle the notification. It's your boy Bola, and that's the scoop.
Fantastic show. Thank you very much, Ray.
Cheers.
He was a true hero in boxing, that's for sure. Wow, what a career!
Honestly,
what a career!
He was nothing shy of amazing. He was his tenacity. Like I just couldn't fathom fighting somebody that angry. You can't beat me, is what he uttered several times. He doesn't think that he can be beaten, and he gets in there. It's like you stole something. He's gonna beat you into submission.
And he's off in Italy having his just dues, as you say.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Fantastic. Cheers.
Cheers.